single one. As soon as Sourav gets back, we'll stream it.
At Reed Furniture, we guarantee better results for students with our Learniture range of ergonomic school furniture. We have more than 50 years of experience in designing educational furniture solutions. Reed also offers a range of flexible, modular furniture which is easy to reconfigure. Transform the classroom from a collaborative learning space to a workshop or an instructor-led environment within minutes. What's more, everything comes with a 10 years warranty.
So welcome to the live streaming. Dinesh Bajaj just breaking off for the white ball. He's playing the defending world champion Sourav Kothari. Both are from India. Good break off. Got the white tight to the side cushion almost. Looks like has he left the cannon? I don't think so. Oh, he has. Oh, well, it looked a bit tight on the side cushion, that white, but Sourav attempted the cannon, but just got a double kiss. Sourav played on this table earlier today, and he had a couple of 200 breaks, beating George Chamas from Australia. Today was the first day of round robin matches in this World Championship, so there's more group matches to be played tomorrow and Thursday. Just got into that one a little bit too much. A little bit too much screw on the cue ball. Looks like he's left in and off yellow for Dinesh. I've not seen Dinesh play before, so I look forward to seeing him play here. I think he may have, not sure if he attempted the pot there, but it's always difficult to start the match. Just first few shots, get until you get your cue arm going. Nice cannon there from Kothari, Sourav. So he'll be looking to get these balls to the top of the table as quickly as he can. He was, like I say, scoring quite well earlier on. So once he gets those in the balls in position there, he'll be fancying getting a decent break to start off this match. White's in a good position for a drop cannon, so I think one more in off this red, and we'll probably see the first drop cannon of the match. Well, he played it round off three cushions there, but the red's dropped in the middle, so we are going to see the first drop cannon. I wasn't sure if he was going to play the in off gently and leave the red near the top cushion, but so here it goes.
18.
And he's almost there already, top of the table. I was speaking to Sourav earlier. He said he was really impressed with this venue, the RACV. Said he finds it, the tables are good, and he enjoys the. Is impressed with the publicity of the event that he's seen. So glad to be here, obviously, and looking to defend this championship that he won last year in Leeds. I enjoy watching Sourav play. Really good cueist, as are all the top players, obviously. But he really strikes the ball really crisply. Good solid stance. Plays a lot of snooker as well, so he has a sort of that sort of action really. Plays snooker to a high level, but just missed that cannon there. So be a bit disappointed not to have scored a few more there with that chance. But still early days, of course, this match. For those that weren't here last night or didn't see the stream, there was a really exciting final of the World Open between Dave Corsier and Dvaj Harrier. Went down to the last few seconds really. Dave only won by 7, I believe the final score was. It was a really exciting finish. Harrier was on a break at the end but just ran out of time, but it was a great match. And I was in here watching, and there's was about 150 people, I think, roughly in the venue watching. So it was a great atmosphere for the match, and great to see so many spectators. I'm sure there'll be equally as good an atmosphere for the latter stage of this Melbourne World Championship. So it's players are getting used to the tables now and getting a feel for the venue, so I think it's going to be a cracking few days coming up. So his first short Jenny of the match coming up. Let's see if he can. Ooh. Has he flicked it? Not quite. Jennies have been well, I've found them quite tough, but then I'm not an exceptional player, but of course, I've found them quite tough. But players much better than me I've seen a few missed as well by even the top players. So I think that if you seem to just hit them slightly too thick, they seem to just pull away a bit from the pocket. I think it's just the way the cloth reacts. All tables react differently, and a little bit of slide on the cloth still, can cause a missed shot. Played that nice, just left the red. Didn't bring the red all the way back to the middle pocket, left it left it where there, as you can see, ready for the drop cannon. Always trying to get the balls to the top of the table, of course. That's the way these players score their big breaks. Quite a nice shot there, just seeing so this is how he's going to recover the white back right where he wants it, almost in line with the spot. Oh, he's just got into that one a bit too much. As I was saying, the slickness of the cloth just caught him out a bit there, I think. Just a little bit too much screw on that delicate cannon there. He wanted to catch the side of the red to leave himself a pot, but he's got into it a bit too much. So at the moment, the highest breaks we've seen in this championship so far. Like I said, it only started today, but Dave Coors has already made a couple of 400 breaks. 463 is the highest, and Vaj Harrier has made a 291 as his highest so far. Coors made a number of other centuries today, so he's obviously a relentless scorer, all the time. But I wonder if we'll see. Well, pretty sure we'll see some more bigger breaks than that from Dave, but a couple of 400s from him on the first day. Peter played quite well as well today. He's had a few 200s already in the centuries. So playing underneath this white off the top cushion, might need a little bit of left hand side, but with these spotted balls you can see, if you're close enough, what they're doing with the cue ball, what side they're putting on, especially at the top of the table. Little touches aside makes a massive difference to the shot, as most of our viewers will probably know if they've experimented or played top of the table to any sort of standard. But The bulk line crossing is also being played in this championship. It wasn't used in the World Open, that particular rule, but so between 80 and 100, the player has to 80 and 100 break. The player's got to cross the bulk line. These players are all used to using that rule and getting around it, especially when they're at the top. Well, he didn't have to cross the bulk line there. Talking about bulk line crossing, but I think he just left himself a bit thinner on the red than what he wanted. So sending a cube around the table. So the last time Sourav often comes over to Australia to play in these major events. Obviously, this is the first time the Worlds has been in Australia for several years, but he often comes for the Pacific International. It's one of the other events on the World Billiards Tour. He actually won the Pacific International Snooker event that was played this year, and he also got to the final of the Billiards. So they have a snooker and billiards event back to back. So, but he lost to Peter Gilchrist in the final of the Billiards. But just goes to show what a great Qist he is to play snooker and billiards at a high level. Steve Mifsud obviously is the other player that stands out as one of those that can mix the two games. Steve Mifsud, a professional snooker player on the World Snooker Tour, and obviously a top-notch billiards player as well. 500 breaks. He's also in this championship too. Well, there's the bulk line crossing that we were talking about. Worked out quite well. Perfect, really. I don't think you can complain about that too much. So looks like we could be seeing the first century coming up of this match. Yeah, good camera angle there. You can see he's putting a bit of right on the side on this, just to make sure he gets on the top of the red and leave himself that pot. If he caught it too much from behind, he would have left himself in off or possibly no shot at all really if he hit it wrong, but he played it really nicely, and those are the shots that people still sort of learning and improving and trying to get bigger breaks like myself are sort of trying to take note of those shots and make sure you try and practice them, and because those are the shots that can make a difference between sort of getting a decent break at that floating white or sort of mucking it up in a match situation. And it's so easy to do, but obviously these players make it look so easy. But so I've been speaking to a few people here the last few days about just people's play and people that have been watching these players make big breaks at the top of the table, and they often refer to the box. So it's I think a lot of these sort of spectators may have read the book by Marito Donoghue, who's sort of obviously a really famous player from Australia, several years ago, but he was a really top player, and in his book, he wrote a book, Advanced Billiards, and he refers to the box, and he even gives measurements for it. I'm not exactly sure what the measurements are right now, but he talks about the white floating around the box, and that's pretty much what Sourav's doing here, really. And the line as well, so where the line, if you across where the spot is, through the spot and parallel to the top cushion, so that the white at the moment is just short of that line, but sometimes they obviously push the white up to the line and then they can get it in tight and behind the spot then. But you may have to come away slightly from that pattern here. So he's just pushing that white just up to the line, just a fraction. Imaginary line, obviously, but it's ingrained in their subconscious. That's a really nice shot what he's just played there. He really had to hit that sweet. It's so easy there to screw it and just not cue it sweetly enough and collide with the white, and you don't know where they're going to go, but he played that really sweet, and he had to make sure he potted that red, completely straight, because if he pinched the pocket at all, like I say, it could have spoilt the position. But so that was a couple of good shots there to regain the position, and up to 150 now. So Dinesh did have a couple of chances earlier on, but it's going to be tough. So he's soon going to be getting his next bulk line warning, it would seem, and
Seven. Bulk line warning.
I think he'll probably play the bulk line crossing after he goes underneath this white. I think that to tend to leave himself that angle, a big enough angle to cross the bulk line. So he's just cut the red just slightly thinner, and then so I'm pretty sure we'll see the bulk line crossing on this shot. Well, he's done the bulk line crossing all right. Just has it gone just far enough down to? Yeah, looks like he can get the cannon from there. Yeah, no problem at all. He didn't want to collide with the top pocket there, but he worked out all right in the end. This is a very nice break so far from Sourav. Like I said earlier, so he's obviously Sourav defending his world title that he won in Leeds last year. He didn't play in the World Open. He's just arrived for this main event.
6.
He's getting the cue ball clean, bit sip of water, and you do see some of the top players do that just to sort of give themselves a second to regain their, well, not regain their focus, but just sort of have a breather for a second and carry on. Dinesh looking pretty focused in his chair there, but as you need to do against these players, but he's not sure when his next chance is going to come along. But I'm sure we'll be ready to try and take that chance when it does come, but looks like Sourav is going to be hard to stop at this rate.
18. 230.
There we see it again, knocking the white up to the line where the spot is, imaginary line parallel to the top cushion. And then that allows him to play enough for cannon, and he'll get it almost just slightly to one side of the red. They don't tend to like it right behind the red unless they're playing post-was knock, which is when it's tight on the top cushion, but this floating white, they're playing it quite nicely here. bit left hand side on there, got a good view of that from there. Looks like, can he get a, I don't know, I don't think he can get a thick run through there. Looks like the white's in the way, so may have to, let's see if he's going to go off top cushion, or he's playing enough a pot. Yeah. He's got that white really tight in behind the spot there, as you can see, but needs to just try and negotiate his next couple of shots. And
73.
this break's actually been all top of the table. He's sort of really found his touch. So we see his next crossing, Balkline crossing. Looks like he's a bit disappointed with that, I think, judging by his body language. Fin cannon coming up, I think. So coming away from top of the table now, so just as he gets towards 300. Tricky pot this, got to be careful with this one. Yeah, really nice. Queuing off the cushion like that and with the red near the cushion, that wasn't easy from there. His pockets are cut to a tournament template, so you've certainly got to be accurate, especially when playing from that angle. So all the tables in this venue were recovered with West of England superfine cloth a few days before the event started, and I believe a number of them were re-rubbered as well, new rubbers with top northern rubbers, so really good playing conditions. And like I say, they were cut with tournament template as well, and I believe some of the rubbers were not replaced on some of the tables because they were quite new quite new anyway, but they were adjusted so they fitted the template. And this is a really nice match table. This is a Alcock and Co. Table, tulip wood, and I believe it's about 150 years old. So you don't see, from England, I don't see you don't see tables quite like this very often. So it's really nice to see. And the other interesting thing, as you might have seen from the stream, is the pockets using the nets. So no pocket runners at all on these tables. So it's really set up for billiards, and it's sort of a nice touch like that. And it's really nice, and they got good lighting, as you can see there on this streaming table. So there's going to be a change in the commentary shortly. So Peter Tankard is sat next to me. Welcome, Peter. Have you been watching some of the games in there today? And
I have. I've been playing in there earlier. I got the cheapest coaching for 90 minutes from Peter Gilchrist that anyone could have.
I think we've all had that coaching at some point or another.
That's right. He's taking this tournament much more seriously than I've seen him take others in quite some time.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, I think he knows he's chasing down some very fast scorers. So he showed me absolutely no mercy and knocked in 203 off the break.
Do you think he's got his eyes on the 1,000 break prize as well for this event?
It was interesting because his concentration was very intense from the get-go, and that suggests in a 90-minute match you would virtually have to occupy the table for a lot of that time if you were going to score 1,000 as a break. So he was intense from the get-go. So I think the answer is yes, and it puts an interesting pressure on these guys to find their rhythm quickly and find the table speed quickly. But yes, it was, despite the fact that I don't think I scored a point until he was over 500. It was actually very enjoyable. I know that sounds a bit masochistic, but I mean I love it. You're there with the top ranked player in the world, and I just had a ball sitting in the chair up close.
It's
best seat in the house.
Better seat to have really than watching
Absolutely.
it. So obviously there is a 1,000 break prize. What exactly is the 1,000 break prize for this event?
$24,000, which is probably not much in snooker terms, but in billiards terms, it's a king's ransom.
That's the first time we've had that sort of prize for a long time, isn't it? Really? Possibly?
Yeah, but it's a prize that we could offer fairly regularly. If you think about the mathematics of it, you've got to ask yourself, what are the odds of this? It's never been done under the balk-line rule. So our committee approached a number of people and said, okay, if we give you this much, will you sponsor us for this much? In effect, it was a bet with odds. And so you've got to calculate what the odds are. What are the odds on something that's never been done before? It's a good question. And I'd invite all of our viewers to consider what the odds are. What's in the players' favour here is that the tables and the conditions are very consistent, and they can swap from table to table and not have to learn a different bounce, a different cloth. So that counts in the players' favour. What counts against the players is that it's a very competitive situation, and their focus is really on winning first and break second. So
it's a bit like in snooker, isn't it? When you sort of talk about maximum breaks, but they got to win the frame first.
You've got to win the frame.
Yeah,
that's got to be your priority.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting statistic that often players will lose the following frame, having knocked in a maximum break at snooker, because they're so enamoured with their performance in the other frame. So these are all things that weigh on people's minds. And I did talk to David Corsier, and he said, if I got to 930 unfinished, I won't use the same language, but he effectively said he would be beside himself with concern.
Unhappy.
Unhappy. He would be. Yeah, he would be nervous. I think is the best way to say it.
Yeah.
But and behind all that, he still has to win the match. So
Yeah.
Just snuck under the red there.
Yeah, a little bit of a screw.
So now he's got to elevate the cue and chop down on it. Does that very elegantly. Tap of the knee from Dinesh.
Well, I think I'm going to pop into the match room and have a look at the rest of this break. But thanks for taking over there, and I'll see you shortly.
See you shortly. So Sourav has them under tight control. 349.
350.
He must have been straight on the red because he's screwing back to get a higher angle so he can come underneath the ball. Doesn't really need side on this one. Just taps it back up. Potting the red, he'll come up high. He's concerned he'll come up too high. So he's figuring out how high he can get and still make a cannon that pushes the red towards the pocket. So he's really thinking 3 shots ahead here, and I think in billiards that's about as far as you can think. 3 or 4 shots ahead. And always with a few bailout options, so if plan A doesn't work. The very last erg of energy was used to fall into the pocket there.
64.
Tight behind the spot again now. Side off the cushion to get up high.
67.
Just come down and try and graze this white perhaps.
69.
So he's come up high here on this side. This is the side from which he would try and recover the ball in what Rob Hall describes as a reload cannon.
74.
So wisely taking a little break. He didn't really need the water, but he needed a moment to reset his concentration. So many of these leading players look like they're here to do business this week. It's already a record-breaking tournament in a lot of ways.
84.
Beautiful control, tiny little tap on the white. Brings it very close to the spot. Little concerned here that he'll come up too high off this red pot. Considering crossing it over. Dan Lynch has just pointed out to me he's considering the opportunity for a balk line crossing at this point. These cushions on this particular table have been sliding a bit more than most of the players have expected. And quite a few of these shots have ended up in one of the top pockets, one even in the balk pockets. So successfully negotiated. He's allowed to cross 400 now.
89.
Okay, top of the table position lost. risk of a push shot here. Very close, considering the screw back. Is it very fine for a cannon? Or playing in off? Had he, unlucky, but had he aimed fuller onto the red ball, he was at serious risk of a push shot there. Dinesh is actually an active young club player here in Melbourne. Recently come to Australia and brought a background in billiards with him. And he's very welcome here.
Dinesh, sorry.
Leaving the short drop cannon. This is really about the red position.
5.
Beautifully done. Might be a bit straight on the red. Gonna have to manipulate it in some way. Not aiming for that,
11.
but it doesn't matter. He's on the right side of the table there, and this cannon won't present any problem to him.
13. 15.
So use the cannon to push the white up higher towards the spot again. Thin off the white, thin off the red, leave a red pot.
20. 23.
Decided to come up a little higher before playing the recovery cannon from behind.
28.
Knocks it up to the line across the table.
31.
Trying to get outside the white here. Doesn't need to. Muttering to himself. Screw cannon.
35.
Little tricky now. Well played.
38. 40.
Such a fine connection.
43. 45.
That's a pretty good drop cannon position. That should deliver the white right behind the spot.
49.
And does. Got to put a little juice on this to come back for the cannon, so bottom and right hand side. You'll be considering a cannon here. I don't think it's on, so red pot. That's a better angle now. So that angle, which is just off straight, is a good angle for the cannon. Stop red. Three-dimensional thinking here. He's got to figure out what the patterns are of all the balls relative to each other. Check side to hold it down so that it can come up high next time off the red pot. Drag shot, beautiful control.
72. 74. 77. 79. 89.
Very positive strike of the ball. Dan, our producer, who watches an awful lot of Q Sports and films most of it, has just pointed out that he's a one feather player.
94.
Doesn't dwell over the shot. Oddly enough, billiards is a real rhythm game. It's you'd think with a stationary ball that it's
97.
timing is not all that important, but in fact there's a kind of an internal heartbeat to the game which different players feel at different places. Some players are quite slow and some are deliberate, and others prefer to play at a fast pace. They see the ball and they don't want to second guess themselves. Often your first instinct is your correct instinct. See in the background a room full of players. So there's a lot of quality matches going on now. I haven't seen a results update, but I expect that there will be a few upsets. I know Mike Russell had a close match against David Cosgrove, trailed for most of the time before winning by about 100. David's a developing player, up and coming really, not developing, but an up and coming player from Victoria.
109.
And the son of our head of referees, who assures me he's entirely unbiased. So David Cosgrove is Paul Cosgrove's son. If you want to come down to the RACV club here at 501 Burke Street, we're having a daily raffle for a magnum of Hanging Rock wine for guessing the highest break. I don't know who's leading today, Dan. Do you know who's got the highest break? We have two streams going here. This one with 4 cameras and commentary, such as it is. And the other we have a fixed camera on table 1. So it's your choice of which match you want to look at. And we've got live score updates on WBL on the World Billiards website. But you can still come down and see it live here at the RACV Club in Melbourne, 501 Burke Street, and enter the raffles and get the merchandise and do all the other stuff that helps to pay to bring out these fantastic talented players to Australia. We did enjoy some of the Hanging Rock wines at the function last night. Presentation function for the World Open.
33, 37. Action was 136 before, 139.
Come across quite far enough for a comfortable drop cannon, so he's considering a long loser. Bit of a risk of losing the white ball, potting the white ball from this angle. Doesn't like it. Thinks he'll play the check side cannon from here, but he's going to leave the white quite a long way away from the spot. And gets a cover. Looks like a screw shot off the cushion, but gets a collision with the red. So Dinesh has something to look at for the first time in quite some time. So our high break for today is David Causey with 463. So those of you who are in the lottery with that number, congratulations. Still another session and a half to go, so no guarantees just yet. And Sourav is certainly shaking the tree. He looks very fit and very match ready. And I think his win last year has really changed his whole outlook as a player. He's striking the ball more confidently and he just looks professional. Sharp dresser, got a sharp new haircut, bright shiny shoes. He looks the goods. Very well spoken. Charming fellow, really. Somebody has asked whether there are any polo shirts available to commemorate the event in Melbourne. Yes, indeed there are polo shirts available to commemorate the event. They're issued for free to the players, but for the general public I think they're $60. And if Andrew S. is my friend, and I think it is, I'm happy to bring one back for you, mate. And you'd be a large, I'm thinking.
30. $32.
Really focused just then on promoting the white ball into an in-off position. The red was going to go out somewhere into the middle of the table without too many worries. It's my pleasure, Andrew. You should be here, mate. It's a fantastic atmosphere. And we are blessed to have this cohort of players here. It's really the best field ever seen in Australia, and I would say the best field assembled in my lifetime for World Billiards. Pankaj, Sourav, Dhruv, a lot of players that we don't get to see enough of. Dwaj Harrier, all the English superstars, Peter Gilchrist. Just incredible to have them all in one room. Not to mention our Australian heroes, Matt Bolton, Joe Manici, Michael Pearson, Steve Mifsud, all of our state champions and former Australian champions, Frank Humphreys, David Collins. Our ref just tried to spot Sourav's ball on the spot and found it wouldn't go. Loves that kiss. Wanted it to come down just a little further so he could have a soft cannon, but now he's got to play in off the red, bring it around off two cushions and get it back into shape. Wants to inspect exactly where that white is. He's considering a red pot. Starting to come over this side of the table. Wants to play the cannon coming back,
69.
which has two results. Not low enough for the cannon. So stun around it, or screw around it. Now it's right.
72. 74.
So often when you're playing billiards, you've got two or sometimes even three goals in playing a shot. Obviously the first one is to make a score, but then you need to consider where both of the other two balls are.
79.
Got them tight again now.
82. Ball line warning.
Sourav plays very good precision top of the table. You'll see there are stylistic differences between some of the players. David Corsier quite loose at top. They're still playing the same shots, but some of them are more concerned with the precision of the shots. I think most players would acknowledge that Mike Russell has been the most precise top of the table player